Welcome to Rhino Training, brought to you by InfiniteSkills.com. I'll be your host, Brian Tanola, and in this lesson, I'm going to show you 3 ways to command Rhino. Rhino is essentially a command line driven program. The command line is here at the top of the screen with the blinking cursor. All commands, whether accessed by the drop-down menus, the command line, or the buttons on the toolbar, essentially all get piped through the command line, and you can see them in the command history above the command line. We're going to start off by closing out the Help dialog. Go ahead and click on the X on the top right of this dialog box. I'm now going to show you a few different ways to command Rhino using the buttons on the toolbars, the command line, and the drop-downs. We're going to bring up a more useful dialog on the right-hand side of the screen here, which is the Layer Manager. The Layer Manager can be brought up by using the Layer Manager button right here. We can see that when I hover over top of a button, a tooltip shows up. In this particular case, showing me that this button has a right-click and a left-click command. I'm going to left-click, and you can see that the Layer command was used, and now it is in the command history as the last command that was used, and the Layer dialog has appeared. Something else to note about toolbars is the toolbars are dockable, as are most elements of the Rhino interface. You can see the small bar at the end of the toolbar here, on the command line, on this toolbar, on the Snaps toolbar at the bottom of the screen, and even the Layers dialog. So all of these pieces of the interface can be dragged away by clicking and holding on the left mouse button and releasing. And you can put them back simply by clicking and dragging on the toolbar title and putting them back in place. You'll also notice that some of the buttons on the toolbar have a small white triangle in the bottom right-hand corner. When a button has this, if you click and hold with the left mouse button, there's a sub-toolbar that will appear. There are more commands within this toolbar. If you click and hold and open up the toolbar and you click on a button within that toolbar, the command will execute and the toolbar will go away. If you click again on the title bar, you will see an X that appears. Now this toolbar, whenever a button is used, will stay permanent. You can dock it if you like, or if you'd like to hide it from view, you can just click on the X and the toolbar will go away. You can access more toolbars by going to Tools, Toolbar Layout, and you can see here in the default toolbar collection, there are many different toolbars which you can use. By clicking and placing a check next to the particular toolbar you want, that toolbar will appear, and you can close out, and now use the buttons in that toolbar. Another way of commanding Rhino is using the drop-down menus. Every time you start a new model in Rhino, you'll typically go to the File menu and choose New. This begins by opening the template files. These files all have a unit and a tolerance associated with them. You can see the unit and the tolerance in the notes here on the right-hand side. If you have a particular template that you like to use, or that you've created yourself, you can check the Use this file when Rhino starts box, and then when you select that template and click Open, anytime you open and close Rhino, it will use that particular template. I'm going to uncheck this for now. I'm going to choose Small Objects Millimeters and click Open. So now I've started a new session. The last way to enter commands into Rhino is to use the command line itself. I'm going to also use the Layer command again, so I'm going to close out the Layer dialog and show you how to bring up the Layer dialog using the command line. If I type the letter L, you can see that Rhino has an autocomplete. This now shows me every command that begins with the letter L. If I type another letter, the letter A, I now see all commands that begin with the letters L and A. So here's the Layer command. I can click on it and it executes the command and the Layer dialog appears. Anytime you're within a command and you're not sure what that command does, or maybe an option or function in that command, you can press the F1 key to open the help file. For example, let's say we run the command sweep1. It's prompting me to select a rail and it's got a chain edges option. If I press the F1 key, the Rhino Help opens and takes me directly to that place within the Rhino Help. I can also look through the contents and find more information about different commands in the contents. There's a small video which you can play on many of the commands, and also descriptions of all the different details about this particular command. I'm going to close this out. Anytime that you need to exit a command, you can press the escape key. Please make sure that anytime you start a command in Rhino, you pay close attention to the command line. It will prompt you to select objects or enter data or whatever it is that you need to be able to do to continue working with a particular command. You'll also note that whenever you start a command, many of the commands have options. I'm going to start the line command, single line. You can see that I'm now being prompted for the start of this line, and there's a bunch of words in parentheses. Every word has an underlined letter. That underlined letter is the shortcut key to execute that command. Sometimes two options have the same beginning letter, like bisector and both sides, in which case it's not always the first letter that's the shortcut key, as in both sides the letter O is underlined. So if you wanted to use the both sides option, you would type the letter O and press enter. I'm going to go ahead and also show you that you can execute or use an option by clicking on it. So if you'd like to draw a line and you want to draw it perpendicular to some other object, you can just click on that option besides entering the shortcut key. I can press escape to exit this command, and this concludes the 3 ways for executing commands in Rhino.